he kept to himself. No small talk, no swagger, just a man in a weathered flannel, worn jeans, and a faded ball cap with nothing on it. No flag, no unit patch. The type of man you'd walk past without a second thought. At first glance, he looked like someone's uncle, maybe a retired driver who came out just to keep busy. But his shooting said different. His grip, classic. Elbows locked, shoulders relaxed, no extra motion. Every shot placed with exactness, grouping so tight they whispered of something practiced long before today. The younger crowd didn't notice. They laughed, guessed he was another old-timer spending pension money on ammo. Then one of them caught sight of the mark. He was reloading. The cuff of his sleeve slid up just enough to show ink. Not bold, not big, but unmistakable. A design you didn't pick off a wall. A symbol you earned. Malik, tall with a military fade and a seal pin stitched on his gym bag, had seen a lot since joining the Navy. But that tattoo made him pause. He didn't ask right away. Just stared, lips parted. And when he finally spoke, just a quiet, "Where'd you serve?" The whole line seemed to hold its breath. The old man didn't answer with a speech. Didn't even lift his eyes. Just spoke a year. A number. Nothing more. And that was enough. No one laughed after that. The range opened at 7 sharp, but he was always early. Always. By 6:45 he'd be in the parking lot, coffee thermos in hand, steps slow but steady. At the front desk, he signed in with one name. Ellis. No rank, no branch, just that. Then he'd head to lane 7. Always lane 7. Furthest from the noise, away from the Bluetooth speakers and the ego flexing that came with them. Same routine, same gear. Flannel sleeves rolled back to the forearm, jeans slightly too long. A brown cap bent just enough to shade his gaze. His boots scuffed at the heel but brushed clean. He never overpacked, just a compact pistol case, 1 box of 45 rounds, and that old thermos that stayed by his side like a ritual. The regulars called him Gramps. Old school, sometimes ghost. Half figured he'd done something once. The other half figured he still could. What separated him wasn't how he shot. It was how he moved. The way he surveyed his surroundings, slow and deliberate. How his eyes didn't lock onto the paper silhouette like everyone else's. Instead, they settled just beyond it. Almost like he was reading invisible wind. Like he still expected return fire. He never blinked when the shot cracked, never rushed, never stooped for spent brass. And while most missed those details, some didn't. That morning, the building was packed. Off-duty Navy recruits had flooded in. Young, loud, half-suited in camo gear and confidence. They laughed loud, slapped each other on the back. Malik took lane 5, 2 spots down from the old man. He set his gear, adjusted his sights. At first, he didn't notice anything unusual. Just an older guy doing drills, nothing flashy. But then he caught the tempo, the timing, clean, rhythmic, intentional. Like music from a time when things weren't digital, when precision mattered more than noise. That's when he saw the tattoo. And the silence started. The sound wasn't what caught Malik's attention. It wasn't the bang of the gun, it was the tempo. 3 shots. Slight pause. 2 more. Then stillness. No waste. No flinch. Every round controlled, every breath matched to motion. Malik turned slightly. The old man's posture was flawless, just like his shot placement. He wasn't reacting to recoil, he was setting the terms. The weapon did what he told it to. Then came the moment, the reload. As the magazine clicked out and his arm shifted, Malik's eyes caught a glimpse, just a second. But it stopped him. The ink, faint, faded by time and sun. 2 digits and a minimalist insignia that most wouldn't recognize. But Malik did. And he froze. Not because it was showy, but because it wasn't. That kind of tattoo, that wasn't decoration. That was history. He waited, watched, observed the way the man's shots grouped tighter with every round. And then, just enough courage to ask without being disrespectful. He stepped closer, cautious but curious. "Sir," he said, low enough that it didn't carry. "That mark on your arm, is that force recon?" The man didn't answer with a smile. Didn't nod, didn't chuckle. He fired one last round, clean, centered, then gently set the pistol down. Only then did he meet Malik's eyes. His voice was dry, quiet. Once. That was it. One word, but it landed like a weight. Not dismissive, just enough. A line drawn in still air. Malik stood quietly. He understood what that kind of answer meant. It wasn't an invitation. It was a window, brief, thin, and not to be pushed through. So he nodded once, stepped back, and returned to his lane. But his shooting wasn't the same after that. His focus drifted. Every few minutes he'd glance over. The man moved without flourish. Nothing loud, nothing rushed. There was a rhythm in his motion, like memory lived in his hands. Mag in, slide check, breathe, fire, repeat. It wasn't fast, but it was flawless. After every shot, he'd pause, not for effect, but like he was replaying something. Not just the moment he was in, but 1,000 before it. Malik's teammates didn't catch on. They were still cracking jokes, competing, tallying scores. One of them, a kid named Petty, leaned over and smirked. "Yo, that old man's still out shooting all of us." Malik didn't laugh. He just kept his eyes left. He'd seen shooting like that before, but only from one place: instructors. The kind of instructors who didn't need to bark to be heard. The kind who could silence a room without raising their voice. 15 minutes later, the man finished. 30 rounds. Every single one inside the inner ring. He didn't flex. Didn't look around. He set the pistol down, reached for a rag, and began wiping it down with slow, steady hands. Malik hesitated, then stepped over again. Careful this time. "Sir," he said, more respectfully now. "If it's not too forward. May I ask when you served?" No reply at first. The old man placed the rag down, ejected the magazine, cleared the chamber. Then he looked at Malik. Not annoyed. Not open either. Just calm. Like someone who'd lived more than he cared to explain. His voice was the same, low even. "A long time ago." The man's expression didn't change. His tone stayed level. 66 to 74, he said. "Recon, Southeast Asia." Malik exhaled slowly. That confirmed everything. The dates, the silence, the ink on his forearm. It wasn't for show. That was 1st Reconnaissance Battalion. Marines, forward unit. Deep terrain insertions. No communications. No clean exits. The kind of missions where nothing got logged. Where you never came back the same. "Laos?" Malik asked, voice softer now. Ellis gave the smallest nod. That, and a few other places. And in that moment, something shifted. Not in the sound, but in the feel of the space. The busy echo of rounds from other lanes started to feel distant, like the entire range had folded into itself, leaving nothing but Lane 7, the man who carried too much in silence, and the young Black SEAL recruit who recognized it. Even the laughter behind them dimmed. Malik's posture shifted, instinctively squared. "Did you ever train with naval units?" Ellis's lip curled slightly. Half a smile. "Back then," he said, "we all trained with whoever showed up. You swam. You adapted. Or you didn't make it." Malik chuckled, but it was a quiet thing, more breath than laugh. "My CO told us about this recovery op," he offered. 71. Heavy jungle. Unit pinned down. Leader caught a round, but still pulled 2 guys out. No backup. Whole thing stayed sealed for decades. Ellis didn't blink. A lot stayed sealed. And just like that, the opening closed again. Not coldly. Not to reject. Just to remind. Some things aren't meant for the range. Some things live in silence. Carried like an unfired round you don't show off but never forget. Ellis stood. His back cracked slightly as he straightened up. He zipped the range bag, tight and smooth. Malik stepped aside without thinking. Others noticed now. The difference. The way Malik, the sharpest among them, stood straighter around this man. The way his voice changed. A few recruits grew quiet, glancing over from their lanes, suddenly unsure whether the old man was someone they should have known. Ellis turned to leave, but before he reached the door, Malik did something rare. No jokes, no sarcasm, No nervous smile. He stood tall and snapped to attention. A silent salute, not with hand but posture. Ellis stopped, looked back. Malik's voice was clear. "Thank you, sir. For everything." Ellis studied him, not with emotion, not with pride, just with weight. Then he stepped forward, reached into his bag, and pressed something solid into Malik's palm. It was heavy, cold, real. A coin. One side engraved with the first recon emblem. The other side etched with 2 words, "Still here." Then, leaning close so only Malik could hear, Ellis said, "You'll know when it's time to leave quiet. Until then, earn the space you're standing in." No handshake, no salute. Just those words. And then he was gone. Boots on gravel. Thermos under one arm. Walking into sunlight like it had waited for him. No goodbye. No backward glance. By the time most of the range noticed he'd left, he was already part of the morning. Malik stood frozen, the coin pressing into his skin, his pulse loud in his ears. He'd seen men pretend. He'd seen fake honors and empty symbols. But this was real. This wasn't some novelty token. It wasn't decorative. It wasn't something you ordered online or found at a surplus shop. The weight in Malik's hand told the story. This coin wasn't meant to be handed out. It was forged in silence. It was never meant to exist publicly. "Yo, Malik," someone called from down the line. It was Petty. "You good?" Malik didn't reply. He just turned, slowly, and walked over to them, holding the coin out flat in his palm like something sacred. The group leaned in, waiting for some wisecrack. But one look at his face silenced the jokes. They all shifted closer, peering down. Then someone whispered, "Recon. Old school. That's Vietnam era." Even Petty, usually full of commentary, just blinked. "No way that's legit," one muttered. Malik nodded. "It is. Where'd you get that?" He looked past them, toward lane 7, now empty. "From the man y'all laughed at," he said. "The one you didn't bother to notice. That was Staff Sergeant Thomas Ellis." No one replied. They didn't have to. The stillness between them said enough. Malik stepped away, moving back toward the front counter like he was holding something alive. The guy working the desk looked up from his phone, raising a brow. "All good, man?" Malik set the coin down, careful not to let it clink. "You know this man?" The clerk leaned forward, squinting. "Lane 7, right? Brown cap?" Malik nodded. "Ellis. What's his first name?" The clerk typed, eyes flicking across the screen. "T. Ellis. Been coming here for almost a decade. Cash only. No card. No email. Just walks in, signs, shoots, leaves." He paused, then blinked. "Huh. He marked do not list for recognitions or awards. That's rare. Most vets don't do that." Malik leaned in. "Did he ever say why?" The clerk hesitated, scratching his beard. "Only thing he ever told me. I thanked him once. For his service. He looked at me dead straight and said, 'I didn't do it for your thanks.'" The guy gave a nervous laugh. "Didn't bring it up again after that." Malik didn't smile. He just picked up the coin again, closed his hand around it, and walked out the door. That night, he couldn't let it go. Sleep refused to come. At midnight, he opened his laptop and started digging. Through military archives, restricted databases, anything partially declassified. It took hours. Files were shredded, names blacked out, dates adjusted. Some records didn't make sense by design. But eventually, deep in a Vietnam-era sitrep, he found it. Just one line. No ceremony. No bold type. Staff Sergeant Thomas Ellis, 1st Recon, Laos, March 6th. Mission. Hot zone extraction under fire. 7 recovered. Refused medevac. Sustained 2 gunshot wounds. Declined commendation. Then, at the bottom, scribbled in redacted ink, asset deemed irreplaceable. Status, silent. That word stayed with Malik. Silent. Back then, missions didn't come with podcasts or memoirs. No TikToks. No documentaries. You did your job. You didn't tell it. You lived with it. You carried it. And that's what Ellis had done. All the way to that lane. All the way through those 30 rounds. All the way back to his beat-up thermos and quiet walk out the door. After decades of being just the quiet figure in flannel, Ellis had returned. But now, they all knew. And nothing was the same. 1 week later, same early hour, same old pickup rolled into the gravel lot. The morning fog hadn't yet lifted. He stepped out like clockwork. Same boots, same walk, that same half-zipped range bag in his right hand. The faded flannel was there, rolled up to the elbows, and the brown cap shadowed his face as usual. But the energy in the air had shifted. Malik was already there, leaned against the far wall. Not alone this time. 3 of his team from base stood nearby, quiet, alert, postures straight. No laughter, no idle banter. When Ellis passed, they didn't crowd him or speak. They just gave respectful nods and made room like students do when a teacher walks by. Ellis didn't stop, didn't acknowledge it with more than a glance. But he noticed. Not the stares. He was used to those. It was the silence. A different kind. Not the absence of noise, but a presence of something else. Respect. The casual flexes and show-off shots that usually filled the range were gone. Shooters stood more focused. Conversations faded to murmurs. Even the way people loaded their mags had changed. Slower, steadier. Ellis reached lane 7, pinned his target, squared his stance, and got to work. Methodical. Clean. Midway through his second set, Malik approached. Not loose like before. Measured, thoughtful. He didn't interrupt, just waited until Ellis finished his group. Then, without a word, he extended a fresh box of 45 rounds. Unopened. Ellis looked down, then at Malik. No smile, no words yet. Just a silent question in his gaze. Malik spoke low. "Figured you might stay a little longer today?" Ellis gave the briefest nod, but this one lasted. He accepted the ammo and began reloading with the same calm as always. And then, it resumed. That unmistakable rhythm. Squeeze, pause, realign, repeat. No flash. Just control. By the time the last shot echoed, the smell of gunpowder lingered faintly. The brass had stopped rolling. Ellis sat on the edge of the wooden bench, thermos in hand, steam rising faintly in the cool air. One by one, the younger men walked past, not in a pack, not loud, not performative. Each one nodded. Some added, "Sir." One reached out for a brief handshake. Not one of them asked for stories. Petty, who had once cracked jokes about the old guy in flannel, paused the longest. He shifted awkwardly before speaking. "A few of us, we looked you up. You saved people. A lot of people." Ellis wiped the rim of his thermos with the sleeve of his shirt. "They saved each other," he said. That was it. Petty seemed like he had more to say, then decided against it. He just nodded and walked on. Last to stay was Malik. He sat down beside Ellis. No questions, no fanfare. Just 2 men, shoulder to shoulder on a bench, watching morning mist roll across the gravel. After a minute, Ellis spoke again, not looking over. "You saw it because you were meant to." Malik nodded once, holding that coin in his palm again. Ellis didn't say more. He didn't need to. The silence spoke louder than anything else on that range. They sat without speaking, side by side on the wooden bench near the edge of the gravel lot. 2 men. One young, one older. Both staring ahead, but not at anything specific. The targets had already been replaced. The sounds of distant gunfire continued behind them, muffled now. Like background noise to something more important. Malik finally broke the silence. "You ever think about teaching?" Ellis didn't answer right away. He exhaled, slow and steady, watching the wind lift a shred of paper off the ground and carry it off the range. "I spent a long time trying to unlearn everything I might have taught," he said. "But some of it needs remembering." Malik nodded. He wasn't trying to pry, just trying to understand. Ellis took a sip from his metal thermos, eyes squinting into the late morning light. Then he turned slightly. "This isn't the kind of thing you teach," he said. You absorb it. One day at a time. Through repetition. Through silence. I'm still showing up, Malik replied. Ellis studied him, expression unreadable. Then he stood. Then stop talking so much. It wasn't a reprimand. It was guidance. They both chuckled quietly. No grins, no volume. Just shared understanding between generations. Ellis left the unopened box of ammunition behind on the bench, sealed tight. A quiet offering. He didn't mention it. Just picked up his old range bag, zipped halfway, and slung it over his shoulder like always. The thermos tucked between his elbow and ribs. Then he walked away. Same boots, same rhythm. Same distance in his eyes. That afternoon, something subtle shifted. Without announcement or ceremony, the staff installed a brass plaque above Lane 7. It was small, modest, no bigger than a folded index card. The kind you could miss if you weren't looking for it. The inscription didn't say hero, didn't mention rank, didn't list his unit. It said only, reserved until he says otherwise. No one questioned who approved it. No one dared remove it. Ellis never acknowledged it. And yet, somehow, that silence said everything. Some men lead with noise, others with stories. But a few, very few, teach simply by showing up. Their presence becomes the lesson. Ellis never sought attention, never corrected anyone loudly, never once mentioned where he'd been or what he'd done. But when he stood on that lane, hands steady, grip sure, the atmosphere changed. The young ones noticed it now. The rhythm, the stillness. The way he waited between shots like time had to earn his trigger pull. He never needed to explain himself. Because those who needed to know already knew. Later that week, Malik stayed behind after the range cleared out. He sat on the same bench, alone. The box Ellis left remained unopened beside him. He didn't take it home, just sat beside it, staring at Lane 7 like he was trying to memorize it. One by one others came over. Petty, Bryant, Henson. None of them said much. But they sat for a while, like people paying respects not to someone gone, but someone deeply present. Eventually Malik spoke. We looked him up, found fragments, just enough to know. No one asked for details. They didn't need to. Petty nodded. Guy saved people, more than once. He never wanted a thank you, Malik added. Just wanted to be left alone, until someone asked the right question. The bench creaked slightly as Henson leaned forward. And when they did, Malik looked down at the coin still in his pocket. Heavy. Real. He answered. Just enough. By spring, Ellis still came every week. Still never stayed long. Still left nothing behind but the faint smell of cordite and a new sense of quiet. He never bragged. Never corrected stories. He just stood, fired 30 rounds, and left more behind than any speech could deliver. People came to the range hoping to catch him, to see the way he loaded, to watch his stance. But he never acknowledged them. Because some men, real ones, don't perform. They live, they endure, and they wait for the few who have eyes to see. So if you've ever met someone like Ellis, a veteran who carried history in silence, whose strength never asked to be witnessed, share their name. Speak it aloud. Let their memory teach someone else. At The Human Stories, we don't chase noise. We honor those who earned their silence. If this story moved you, subscribe, share it, and remember. If you see an old man reloading alone at the end of the range, watch his hands. You might be standing beside history.